The air was thick with tension as Goku's breath came in ragged gasps. His power, usually a roaring flame within him, had gone completely silent. Those eyes, those terrible eyes. From the moment he had looked into Medusa's gaze, something inside him had frozen solid, like a river gripped by an eternal winter. The serpents coiled around him, tightening with every passing second, cold, ancient scales pressing against his body as the petrification crept slowly upward toward his chest. "I won't die here," he whispered through gritted teeth, his voice barely audible. "Not now. Neil is waiting for me." But no matter how desperately he fought to summon his energy, nothing answered. His power lay dormant, smothered beneath Medusa's curse. Meanwhile, in the Forbidden Universe, the brothers Kon and Baeksinka exchanged a charged glance. Kon turned to his hesitant brother with a fierce, commanding expression. "It's time," he declared. Baeksinka shifted uneasily, his voice low with doubt. "Brother, I don't fully understand the power of that family, but one thing I know for certain, they are capable of killing angels, even you." He paused, the weight of his words hanging in the cold air. "If that woman is not as strong as the purple-eyed demon, what then?" Khan smiled, utterly unshaken. "Don't worry, little brother. Do you not trust me? Neil may have an arrogant spirit, but her strength doesn't come close to her brother's. Defeating her will be simple." His eyes glinted with something darker. "Besides, she is beautiful. I don't think we'll mind her company." With that, both brothers launched themselves into the air, cutting through dimensions at blinding speed toward the Forbidden Universe. Back in Medusa's dimension, Goku's situation was growing desperate. The petrification had already consumed the serpents that bound him, and now it inched ever closer to his skin. Medusa circled him slowly, savoring every moment. "Forget about her," she said smoothly, her voice like venom wrapped in silk. "You will live forever inside my palace. A beautiful statue is what you'll be." But deep within himself, Goku made a decision. He stopped fighting alone. He closed his eyes, silenced his panic, and reached outward with his mind. Somewhere across the void, the Master Yu caught the telepathic call like a flicker of light in total darkness. He steadied himself and responded silently, his voice firm and unwavering. "I hear you. Hold on. Don't you dare die, because I will never forgive you if my sister suffers because of your death." Medusa raised her hand, the final command forming on her lips, when a burst of brilliant purple light erupted from nowhere. It shattered the serpents like glass and violently tore Medusa's cursed gaze away from Goku. She screamed in fury. "How dare you interrupt the curse?" Yu landed between them, perfectly composed. "When you looked away from him, the curse broke, so that's how your power works." He glanced at Goku, noting the cold sweat still clinging to his skin, the trembling that hadn't yet stopped. "Calm down," Yu said quietly. "It's over. We can handle her." But Goku's mind was still fractured. Even freed from the stone, the fear had burrowed deep, like a parasite feeding on his will. Medusa laughed cruelly. "You may have broken the curse, but you can't break what lives inside his mind. That fear, that insatiable, devouring fear, it has already eaten him alive. He won't fight again." Yu turned to Goku, his voice cutting through the noise like a blade. "Stop hiding behind cowardice. You're supposed to protect my sister. I taught you that to unlock your true power, you have to stare death in the face and dance with it. She is not a goddess of death. She is flesh and bone, just like us. There is no reason to fear her." Before Goku could respond, Yu turned and locked eyes directly with Medusa. In an instant, the serpents lunged and chained him exactly as they had chained Goku moments before. Goku's heart sank. Even the Master Yu had been captured. This is the truth, Goku thought, despair washing over him. Her power is in those eyes. We cannot defeat her. I'm sorry, Neil. We failed. The serpents coiled tighter, and Yu began to laugh. It wasn't a laughter of someone losing. It was sharp, mocking, and deliberately provocative.
Is this seriously the full extent of the great Medusa's power? You're embarrassingly weak for someone with such a terrifying reputation. The serpents exploded outward. Yu was free in an instant, launching himself into combat with frightening speed. His strikes landed like thunderclaps, each impact tearing craters into the planet's surface. Medusa's mind raced as she deflected blow after blow. He had looked directly into her eyes and felt nothing. No curse, no fear. Who was this boy? I see now, Yu said, pausing to study her. Your power isn't only in your eyes. You carry tremendous destructive force on your own. You are formidable, Medusa. I'll give you that. He met her gaze with complete calm. But there are far stronger enemies waiting for me. I can't afford to waste everything on you. He activated his full power, and the assault that followed was overwhelming. Medusa dropped to her knees, bleeding heavily onto the fractured ground, stunned and trembling at the sight of her own blood. She screamed and unleashed a devastating torrent of enormous energy-charged serpents. Yu weaved through every single one of them without a scratch, his movements so precise and fluid they seemed impossible. What unnerved her most was the faint purple glow reflecting in his eyes as he read every strike before it arrived. She recognized it with cold dread. Those were the eyes of the demon's children. She had never forgotten the beating she had once received from his mother. She swore then, no matter the cost, she would kill this boy. She launched one final serpent, not at Yu, but directly at Goku. Yu turned without hesitation and flew to intercept it, but Medusa appeared in his path, blocking him with a wall of overwhelming energy. The real fight, she hissed, starts now. A sound then rose from Goku that shook the very atmosphere. It wasn't a battle cry, it was something raw. The sound of a person remembering why they were alive. Neil's name reached him through the chaos, and with it, everything locked inside him broke open. I don't want to die. I want to win. I want to make Neil happy. I want to bring her mother home.
The serpent struck. The explosion was enormous, but when the smoke cleared, Goku stood at its center, radiating an aura so fierce that Medusa instinctively stepped backward. This is impossible, she breathed. A single name had done what her most powerful curse could not. She had underestimated what that woman meant to him. Yu, watching from above, allowed himself a quiet smile. I knew you wouldn't fail me. He looked out toward the horizon and exhaled slowly. The rest is yours. Then he rose into the sky and disappeared beyond the planet's atmosphere, leaving Goku to finish what had been started. Below, Medusa began to back away, her confidence replaced with something she had not felt in centuries. Goku appeared directly in front of her in the span of a breath, and the fight that followed was not a fight at all. It was a reckoning. Each blow landed with the full weight of every moment of fear he had overcome, every promise he had made to the woman he loved. And then, in the middle of the storm, something extraordinary happened. Medusa went still. The petrification, her own ancient curse, began to spread across her own skin. She had turned herself to stone, consumed by the very power she wielded. The great Medusa, goddess of serpents and fear, became her own trophy. As the dust settled and silence returned to the shattered landscape, Goku stood quietly. Before the stone had fully taken her, Medusa had whispered the location of a portal hidden within her castle, a path that would lead them at last toward the one they had been searching for all along. The journey was far from over, but for the first time, the end felt within reach. Tsuchiki was gone, consumed by her own curse, turned to stone by the very power she had wielded against others for centuries. The battlefield fell silent, nothing remaining of the great Medusa but a cold, lifeless statue amid the ruins of her shattered realm. We need to find the portal, Goku said, scanning the devastated landscape. No need to search, he added quickly, his voice steadying. Before she turned to stone, Medusa told me the portal is inside her castle. Yu glanced toward the towering structure with cold, calculating eyes. Inside the serpent's castle, is it? A sphere of concentrated ki formed in his palm, crackling with unstable energy. Without another word, he released it. The legendary castle of Medusa ceased to exist in an instant, reduced to nothing but dust and silence. Goku spun toward him, stunned. Why did you do that? There were living beings inside. They would have returned to their original forms now that Medusa is gone. Yu turned to face him, expression unmoved. You are incredibly powerful, and that is exactly what makes you dangerous to yourself. If I were your enemy, I could kill you with ease because you are too trusting. In a real fight, you cannot afford to be kind. He let the words settle before continuing. Think about it. What would you have done if those beings, the moment they were freed, turned around and attacked you? Either way, they had to die. I simply moved things along. We are not here to save strangers who would just as easily stab us in the back. He paused, then added with something almost resembling respect. Still, Medusa was an honorable queen in her own way. She kept her word. The portal was exactly where she said it would be. Look, there it is. Goku stood motionless for a long moment, the words cutting deeper than any blade. Everything Yu said was true. If even the companions he had fought and bled for had turned their backs on him, what could he possibly expect from complete strangers? Yu didn't act out of cruelty. He acted out of experience, a cold and honest understanding of how rotten the world truly was, gods and humans alike. Every harsh lesson, every unspoken sacrifice was his way of making sure Goku would survive, of making sure his sister never had to grieve. I'm saying we're leaving, Yu called out sharply, already moving toward the portal. Stop standing there like you've seen a ghost. Still rattled from Medusa? I'm fine, Goku said quietly. Let's go. The two stepped through the portal together, vanishing from Medusa's broken dimension and emerging into an entirely new one. Far across the cosmos, in the universe of Enosama, two angels were closing in on the forbidden universe. Murus and Nian cut through the void with purpose, their wings folded back against the speed of their flight. As the forbidden universe came into view, Murus slowed, genuinely taken aback by its scale. So this is it. Magnificent. Its size alone swallows what 6 normal universes could hold. His expression darkened with something old and unhealed. I remember this place. I lost everything here. Father, my friend Ren, and now I will reclaim my honor by ending Nian's life, divine punishment from the last of the angels. They descended toward Nian's planet with tremendous speed. Inside her home, Bado suddenly stiffened. A familiar energy brushed against her senses, cold, unmistakable. Her eyes widened. That key, it's my father's. I thought he was dead. Nian's expression darkened instantly. So that bastard is still breathing. Her voice was iron. Bold of him to come here after what my brother did to him. The angels landed. The gravity of the planet hit them like a wall, far heavier than anything in the angel realm. Meris steadied himself, mildly impressed. Danon, however, seemed to relish it, standing tall with an air of cold superiority. This gravity is nothing surprising, Danon said. The true gods live here, not insects like those who serve Zeno. That is precisely why they have always been above him. His voice dropped to something colder, more personal. But that ends today. I will make it perfectly clear, no one mocks us. Huyagami was a fool. He walked into the domain of mythological gods and challenged them. That arrogance will cost him his life. And when he falls, I will be the strongest in this universe. I will be the new king. I will rule everything. Meris glanced at his brother. When that day comes, I want a good seat at your side. Danon allowed a rare smile. You brought me back from the dead. You'll be my right hand, and I'll fill your world with beautiful goddesses. Their exchange was cut short by a voice from above, sharp and furious. What are you doing on my planet? Nian descended toward them, her aura rising like a storm front. Vados appeared beside her, trembling with barely contained rage. Have you no dignity? Did you learn nothing from what Goku and Yu did to you? Stupid traitor, go to hell. A bolt of ki fired directly at Vados. Nian moved in a fraction of a second, materializing in front of her and deflecting the blast cleanly. Then her power began to rise, slow, deliberate, like a volcano finding its voice, and the planet itself responded, trembling beneath her feet. You don't need to tell me, Vados, Nian said, her voice perfectly calm beneath the fury. That's exactly what I'm going to do. Filth like him doesn't deserve to breathe, let alone exist in this universe. Maris studied her carefully, speaking under his breath to his brother. She's strong, nearly the power level of a high priestess angel. He paused, his gaze shifting in a different direction. But you were right, she doesn't match the purple-eyed demon. Then, almost to himself, he added quietly, "Still, look at her. She is without question one of the most beautiful goddesses I have ever seen. This is going to be very entertaining." Danon said nothing. Behind his cold eyes, darker thoughts were already forming. Nian moved first. A devastating kick connected with Danon's back and sent him hurtling across the sky. She appeared and reappeared around him in rapid succession, striking him from every angle, her fists and feet finding him again and again like he was nothing more than something to be discarded. Danon tumbled through the air like a rag doll, battered from all directions. Nian drew her fist back, wrapping it in pure destructive energy, ready to deliver the finishing blow. But in that instant, Maris appeared directly in front of her and caught the strike in his open palm. The impact sent shockwaves rippling outward, but he held it and smiled. "You're far too beautiful for this," he said softly, his tone disturbingly calm. "Why don't you leave this place and come with me? It would be a true shame to have to kill you." Nian's eyes narrowed as the realization hit her. He had stopped her full-powered strike without effort. "Get away from me," she snapped. "You're disgusting. Both of you are garbage." Danon picked himself up from the ground slowly, brushing himself off with theatrical indifference. "Maris, why are you interfering? I was enjoying feeling those weak hits bounce off me." His brother shot him a look. "Stay out of this. I'm negotiating." Danon's jaw tightened. He had forgotten in all this time apart just how predictable Maris became the moment a beautiful woman entered his field of vision. It didn't matter. Nian was going to die, even if he had to remove his own brother to make it happen. "This place must feel so vast and empty without them," Maris said to Nian, his voice shifting to something almost gentle. "You shouldn't have to carry all of this alone." Nian's response was to pour everything she had into a full assault. Every strike, every burst of energy, everything, and Maris deflected it all with unsettling ease, almost bored, speaking to her between blocks. "Beautiful, but fierce," he said, stepping aside from a blast that would have leveled a mountain. "I was trying to be kind. I suppose I'll have to change your nature by force. Whether you like it or not, you will be mine." Then he drove his fist into her stomach. The air left her in a single violent gasp, and blood spilled from her lips. Maris leaned in slightly, and in a gesture of pure cruelty, tasted it. "Exquisite," he said. "Even your blood is unlike any goddess I have ever known." Danon stepped up beside his brother, his voice stripped of all pretense. "Maris, I came here to make you suffer through Nian, and then I will kill her. I will not allow your obsession with a woman to obstruct that. If you defy me, I will kill you too. Are we clear?" Maris didn't flinch. "Calm yourself, older brother. Taking what I want from her is its own form of suffering. In fact, it's worse than any wound. Once she's mine, then you can kill her. Does that satisfy you?" Danon considered it. "Don't let a woman cloud your judgment. You know better than anyone that I will follow through with my word. Don't test me." A pause. "Good. Then stop talking and ruining the moment." Nian's voice was barely above a whisper, blood still on her lips. "My brother and Goku will come. They will make you pay for everything you've done."
Maris raised one finger slowly, shaking it with a quiet, unsettling confidence. "I came here knowing the purple-eyed demon is not on this planet. I am not my brother. I do not make careless mistakes." Danon grabbed Nian's arms from behind, pinning them completely. "Your brother always protected you," he said. "You lived your entire life in his shadow, feared only because you were his sister. That dependency made you weak, and deep down you know it. And your precious brother?" He let the silence stretch. "He crossed through that portal and died like a fool, leaving the person he valued most completely unguarded." Tears streamed down Nian's face as she screamed back at him. "My brother is not dead. I know it. I feel it. And Goku is with him. Together they are unstoppable." She released a massive sphere of energy. The explosion tore across the planet's surface in a wall of fire and force, and when the dust began to settle, both angels stood completely untouched. "All that power, and you only raised dust," Danon said. Then his voice took on a quieter, more deliberate tone. "I almost forgot. Your mother, she was taken from you when you were still so small." He watched her face carefully. "Do you still remember her, Nian?" The words hit harder than any blow Meris had landed. Nian continued fighting, her attacks unrelenting, but the weight behind her eyes was shifting. The angels were simply too strong. Every strike she threw was absorbed, redirected, or ignored entirely. Nearby, Bados watched in helpless silence, her fists clenched at her sides. Nian's power should have been enough. It had been enough before. But the ki pouring off these two was so immense, so suffocating that she couldn't even move. She couldn't reach Nian. She couldn't do anything. For the first time in a long while, she felt utterly, shamefully useless. Danon came up behind Nian and seized both her arms, wrenching them back and holding her completely still. "This is where it ends," he said flatly. "Move quickly, Meris. I'm done wasting time here." Meris approached slowly, reaching out toward her. Nian screamed, her voice raw and furious. "Get your hands off me! Only Goku has the right to touch me, no one else!" Danon's lip curled. "Goku this, Goku that. How does a man like that make even a goddess like Nian surrender herself so completely?" He glanced at his brother with impatience. "Finish it, Meris, and then kill her. I can't stand listening to her anymore." But before Meris could take another step, something shifted in the air. A presence, ancient, vast, and terrible, like a wound torn open in the fabric of the universe itself. Not far from where they stood, something that had been sleeping for a very long time began to wake. A voice broke through the stillness, low and shaking with barely restrained fury. "Did you think there was no one left to protect her?" The being who spoke had not moved like this in years beyond counting. He had made a promise, a sacred one, to never again unleash the second layer of his power, no matter the cost. He had buried it deep, sealed it away on the day he first met her, the woman he loved above all things. But these angels had their hands on his daughter. "Forgive me, Kana," he said quietly, to a memory, to a promise now broken. "I have to do this." The seal shattered. What poured out from him in that moment was not merely power, it was history. It was legend. The demon Chairo, the name that had once sent terror through every universe under Zeno's governance and every dimension ruled by the mythological gods. That name now had a face again, and it was walking toward the two angels with the slow, absolute certainty of something that has never known defeat. The angels felt it before they saw it, not as pressure, not as a threat, as inevitability. The kind that tells you without a single word being spoken that no matter what you do next, it is already too late. Those bastards had made a grave mistake. In awakening the legendary demon Chairo, they had stirred something that had slept for an eternity, something that had chosen to remain dormant out of love, out of promise, out of the quiet dignity of a father who believed his time of violence was behind him. "How could I call myself a father?" Chairo said quietly, almost to himself, "if I cannot protect my own daughter?" For millennia he had denied the demon within him, buried it beneath layers of restraint and devotion. He had given everything, his power, his divine key, to the man Nian loved most all. But now, with Nian's cries reaching him through the walls of his isolation, none of that mattered. "Forgive me for breaking my promise," he whispered, and then the seal shattered. The entire forbidden universe responded. The ground split, planets cracked across the multiverse like glass struck by a hammer. Danon grabbed his brother's arm, his composure finally failing him. What is happening? This place was supposed to be indestructible. Kana herself built it. Far away, in a dimension removed from the chaos, a beautiful goddess felt the tremor and closed her eyes. She already understood. So this is what it has come to. You held your promise for so long. The situation must be beyond bearing. She pressed her hand gently to her chest. Please, keep Nian safe. I already know they're in danger. That is why he has woken.
Inside the castle of the mythological gods, the prisoner Kana felt it too. Her captor, Izanami, paced before her with sudden agitation, his usual cold arrogance cracking at the edges. What is wrong with you? You've always been defiant, always cold, but now look at you. Kana simply closed her eyes. I feel sorry for you, she said quietly. Izanami erupted. What did you say? Before the argument could continue, their children burst through the castle doors, breathless. Father, mother, a tremendous key has appeared in the other universe without warning. Izanami dismissed them immediately, his mind already elsewhere. He seized his wife, and together they flew outside the castle walls, into the open expanse where such energies could be properly felt. What reached them there stopped Izanami cold. How is that bastard still alive? He muttered. He died. It was certain. Beside him, Kana smiled, slowly, dangerously, with something almost like desire. He is extraordinary. Even now, just releasing that pressure, it ignites something in me. There is no question. That is Chiro. Her voice softened into something complicated. This is the true power of the only being in this entire multiverse with two ki within him, and that is precisely why our children inherited such intensity from him. Izanami turned on her sharply. Enough. Stop celebrating him. His voice dropped to something colder. Those who stand in our way will die. Our children will be first among the casualties if they cannot handle what is coming. He looked out into the trembling sky. He will not stand still now that his power is free, and the first ones he comes for will be our sons. Inside her cage, Kana allowed herself the smallest smile. Foolish Izanami. You always believed you were the strongest, but you never truly faced him, not the real him. Izanami spun toward her, fury rising. Close your mouth. Be grateful I haven't killed you yet. And why haven't you? Kana asked, perfectly calm. Izanami paused, then answered through clenched teeth, his voice tight with something he refused to name as fear. Because if you die, everything your power created dies with you. Every planet, every star, every living thing in this universe and beyond, all of it traces back to you, the first queen of everything. The moment you cease to exist, there is nothing left. He straightened. That is the only reason you are still breathing. Now both of you, he addressed his sons, go and deal with the intruders. The real threat is approaching, and this time it will not be easy. The brothers left without another word. Izanami stood alone with his prisoner and whispered venomously, I thought you were dead, Chiro, after all this time. Kana murmured back, almost tenderly, he never listened to you. He chose me. He always did. Izanami's fist tightened at his side. When he comes here, I will annihilate him. I won't leave a particle of him behind. Kana looked at him with something between pity and certainty. Darling, even you know that's not true. If he had used his full power in that battle long ago, your sons could never have defeated him. The curse of Medusa would never have touched him. He is the authentic king. You have always known it. Even now, fighting him one against one, you would lose. Enough! Izanami's voice cracked the air. Do not say his name in front of me again. Kana fell quiet, and in the silence, she allowed herself to feel something she hadn't felt in a long time. Hope. Meanwhile, within the Forbidden Universe, Chiro stepped out of the dark room where he had lived alone since the day they took his wife from him.
The light felt strange against his eyes, purple irises flickering with disorientation after so long in shadow. A red and purple streak of lightning split the sky, and he was gone, reappearing an instant later beside the angels who had been making Neil suffer. Khan looked him over dismissively. "Who are you? You have no presence. You're embarrassing." Maris smiled and gestured casually toward Neil. "To answer your question plainly, I'm here because I want her. She's mine now. No one is going to stop that." Chiro vanished. He reappeared directly behind Maris and spoke one quiet word. "Repeat that." The punch that sent Maris flying across the sky and into the planet's surface with the force of something geological. He screamed as he hit the ground, not from the impact, but from something deeper, an energy that wasn't simply pressing against him, but dissolving him from the inside. Khan stared. "One punch? You're screaming from one punch?" He barely moved. Maris clutched himself, gasping. "Something is destroying me from within. I can't. It hurts." Chiro stepped forward slowly, speaking without urgency. "Before we continue, I want to be clear. If I were to release even a fraction more of my ki right now, my daughter would be terrified, and that angel beside me would be left broken beyond repair for the rest of his existence." He glanced toward Goku and Yu's direction for just a moment. "I trust they are not so weak as to need me. I'll spare a few minutes for this." The angels shot upward together, pouring everything they had into a single devastating sphere of destruction, the most powerful technique in their arsenal, built from combined divine energy. Neil pressed her hands to her mouth. Vados stepped in front of her, shielding her eyes. "He's going to die. That power is going to—"
Chairo looked at the descending sphere of annihilation and exhaled. A breath, just a breath, and the energy evaporated. Silence stretched across the planet. Neil opened her eyes. Her father stood untouched, hands at his sides, a quiet smile on his face. The sphere was gone, not deflected, not absorbed, simply ended, the way a candle flame ends when you breathe on it. Vados turned to Neil slowly. "Who told you your father was weak?" I didn't know," whispered Neil. "I genuinely didn't know he had this. He never showed us." Chairo appeared behind the angels. "That technique you just used, I invented it." He let that settle for exactly 1 second. Then to Dinan, "On your knees." Dinan met Chairo's purple eyes, and his body moved before his mind could refuse it. He hit the ground with tremendous force, pinned there by a pressure that had no visible source, every muscle fighting a war it could not win. Maris, teeth gritted, launched himself forward and struck Chairo's face again and again, fast, precise, furious. Chairo did not move, did not blink, did not acknowledge a single blow. "If your fist touches my face one more time," Chairo said pleasantly, "it will turn to dust." Maris threw one final punch. His arm began dissolving at the molecular level. He screamed in a register he had never reached before, staring at what remained of his limb in pure horror. "I told you," Chairo said. Dinan, still pinned to the earth, tried to flee upward. He broke through the atmosphere, and Chairo was already there, waiting, looking almost bored. "You thought leaving the planet would help you." Dinan moved in every direction, up, sideways, spiraling, reversing, and at every point in space he arrived, Chairo was already present, expression unchanged. "Stop moving." Dinan froze, not because he chose to, because his body had no other option. "You looked strong when you were hurting my daughter," Chairo said, his voice going quiet and very cold. "Where did all of that confidence go?" He began to raise his power, slowly, deliberately, and Maris, far below in the atmosphere, wept, not from pain, from the sound of it, from what it felt like to exist in the same space as that much concentrated force. "Your first mistake," Chairo said to Dinan, "was touching Neil. Your second was believing only I could protect her. Your third," he almost looked amused, "was not knowing the name of the demon who created the very technique you just tried to kill me with." He raised one finger. Dinan disappeared from existence. Chairo descended back to the planet's surface unhurriedly. The ground trembled faintly as he landed, and he paused, steadying himself. "I've been dormant so long, I've lost some control of the purple eyes.
I nearly destroyed the planet." He straightened and walked toward Neil and Vados. "The two of them are gone. You're safe." He looked at his daughter for a long moment, taking in how much she had grown, how much of her mother lived in her face. Then he placed his hand gently on top of her head. "I arrived just in time. They didn't hurt you." He smiled, and for a moment the weight of millennia lifted from his expression completely. "You've grown so much. You look exactly like her." Neil looked up at him, tears still drying on her cheeks. "Why did you only appear now? Today, when we were about to die?" "Hey," he said softly, "those insects were never going to kill anyone, understood?" Then more quietly, "And I'm sorry for not being there, for you and for your brother. I was not the father either of you deserved." Before she could respond, Dynan fired a bolt of energy directly at Chairo's back. Chairo did not turn around. He simply raised his arm behind him, palm open, and the energy dissolved on contact. "What did you do?" Neil asked, staring. He still didn't turn. He began walking, slow, steady steps toward the angel. "I'm going to finish this, and then I need to help Goku and your brother." His voice hardened just slightly. "Zanami and his wife have enjoyed everything Kana created for far too long. Their debt is overdue." He placed a barrier around the entire forbidden universe, vast, seamless, absolute, and then he was gone. A streak of red and purple light cutting through the stars faster than space itself seemed prepared for, the fabric of the universe warping in his wake. Neil watched him go, standing very still. "My father," she said at last to no one in particular, "is something else entirely."
On the other side of everything, in a different dimension entirely, Goku and Yu stopped. Goku turned his head. "You feel that?" Yu was already looking in the same direction. Unmistakable, an enormous key. A pause, nothing like Medusa. And ahead of them, stepping out from the shadows of the new dimension, stood a beautiful girl, watching them both with eyes that held the calm of someone who had been expecting this moment for a very long time. The beautiful girl who stepped into their path was no stranger to power. She was Amaterasu, daughter of Zanami and Sanami, goddess of the sun, and she looked at the two of them with the particular contempt reserved for people who have never once been surprised by anything. "My brothers were shaking over you two," she said, almost laughing. "Honestly, it's embarrassing. You're just a pair of children." She tilted her head, studying them with the detached curiosity of someone examining insects. "Still, you've wandered into our territory. I'll have to kill you. Please don't take it personally. Letting you live would mean eventually facing my mother, and I'd rather not deal with that inconvenience." Her gaze settled on Yu, sharpening slightly. "Those eyes, they're unusual. I imagine they come with something special." She smiled. "I'll kill you first." Before the sentence had fully left her lips, Yu was already on the ground. He lay there for a moment, processing what had just happened. She was fast, extraordinarily fast. His eyes had tracked every movement perfectly, but his body had simply not kept pace. The gap between what he could see and what he could do had never been so painfully apparent. Amaterasu laughed with genuine delight. "I knew it. Demon eyes, sharp as anything. You saw every movement I made, didn't you? But your body couldn't follow. You still have a long way to go before you reach the level of your father's eyes. You are his son, aren't you?" Her expression grew playful. "They say he can make any warrior tremble just by looking at them." Yu pushed himself upright, jaw tight. "You're confusing me with someone else. My father's eyes are nothing like mine. My eyes are unique. No one else can use them." Amaterasu thought to herself quietly. He doesn't know. He has no idea who his father truly is or the legend of those eyes. He's only using them at a fraction of what they're capable of. The eyes of the Yagami clan. It was said only demons of that bloodline could wield them fully. Yu turned to Goku, his voice carrying an edge that was almost excitement. "Leave her to me. She's comparing my eyes to someone I've never even heard of. I'll show her exactly how special these eyes are." Amaterasu folded her arms with elaborate patience. Oh, bold words for someone so weak. If the great Kana herself barely managed to defeat me, what exactly do you think her useless son is going to accomplish? She shook her head with a theatrical sigh. "You should have stayed in the other universe, little one. Out there, you'd be considered a powerful god. In here, you're just another ordinary one." "You don't know me," Yu said flatly. "This universe or mine, I am the son of the first queen of everything. That doesn't change depending on the territory."
He began releasing his power. The force of it multiplied 300 times over, and the ground beneath them fractured in expanding rings, tremors rolling through the dimension in every direction. "Goku," Yu said without looking away from her. "Go, we're close. When you find her, you'll recognize her immediately. She looks just like my sister." He paused. "Don't lose, I'll be waiting on the other side." Goku vanished. Yu and Amaterasu were alone. She moved to block him instantly, appearing in his path with a smile that hadn't changed. "Oh no, you're not going anywhere either. All those brave words, now let's see if they mean something." She gestured for him to come. "I want to see what the son of Kana is really made of. That Saiyan will be well taken care of. My brothers can be rather merciless. It's not exactly a surprise coming from them." Something shifted briefly in her eyes. "You saw what they did to your mother. I remember the look on my sister's face during those days. Because of people like them, she suffered for too long." Her voice hardened. "That's why I will end them, so it never happens again." Yu's ki surged even higher, crackling with purple light. Amaterasu didn't stop smiling. "Remarkable. You just keep going, don't you?" A pause. "Little Yuji, you're not the same garbage you once were." "Don't call me that." Behind her, his purple eyes ignited fully. The strike that followed was unlike anything she had absorbed before. It landed clean, and before she could recover, a dozen more connected in rapid succession. She skidded back across the sky, genuinely surprised. She raised her own power to match his level, and the battle that erupted between them bent the air itself. Each impact a contained catastrophe, each exchange fast enough that any being from a lesser universe would have been killed instantly by the residual pressure alone.
The fight was even, perfectly, dangerously even, but Yu was slowly being drawn into something he hadn't yet identified. Amaterasu was drifting upward, barely perceptibly, movement by movement, and Yu, focused entirely on the combat, wasn't tracking it. The higher she climbed, the more the seven suns that surrounded the dimension poured their energy into her. Each second that passed, her strikes came heavier. Each second it became fractionally harder to hold his ground, to read her, to keep up. The gap was widening so gradually that by the time it would have been obvious, it would already be too late. Yu felt it before he understood it. His body was working harder. His responses were just slightly slower. Something was feeding her, and it wasn't coming from within. He dropped, fast and deliberately, away from the heights she had been pulling him toward, back down to the surface of the planet. She called after him from above, voice rich with mockery. "Running away? Come and fight me in the sky. You're nothing but a coward. You'd need 1,000,000 more years of training to reach me up here." "I'm not running," Yu said, completely steady, "and I'm not stupid." He looked up at her, eyes cutting through the light with absolute clarity. "I know what you are now. I know how you do it. Those seven suns surrounding this place, they're feeding you. I can see it. The energy flows directly into you. The higher you climb, the more they give. The longer you stay up there, the more you become." He exhaled slowly. "I heard the legend once. I refused to believe it was real." A pause. "I was wrong. You are an omnipotent existence within this universe, as long as the sun provides." Amaterasu stared down at him, something flickering behind her expression for the first time. She thought to herself with genuine surprise, "He saw it. He actually saw the energy entering my body. A mind like that appears once in millions of years. And those eyes, they see everything. Everything. If I'm not careful with him, this will stop being entertainment very quickly." A new thought arrived, colder and more deliberate. Those eyes. I want them. With the purple eyes of the Agami clan added to my power under these suns, there would be nothing left above me, not even my mother. She smiled, and this time there was nothing playful in it. "I'll be taking those eyes from you, little Yuji, just so you know." "No," Yu said simply, "you won't." In that same moment, Amaterasu felt it, a power she hadn't sensed approaching, enormous, raw, and absolutely pure. She turned her attention toward it without meaning to. Several minutes earlier, Goku had hit the edge of a portal and found it guarded by two figures who regarded him with identical expressions of theatrical disdain.
"Going somewhere so quickly, friend?" one of them called. "Not just anyone can pass through here. Do you have authorization, documentation proving you're free of any unusual conditions?" Goku stared at them. "I'll send you both straight to hell. I'm going through that portal and there is nothing you're going to do about it." The other one turned to his brother with mock concern. "He's not very tolerant of humor, is he?" "Agreed. Let's do what we do best. Destroy the gods who get in our way." He grinned at Goku. "Stop talking and come die already. Some of us have places to be." Goku's eyes narrowed. "You think this is funny? Neil was terrified because of people like you. The way you looked at her, just thinking about it makes me want to tear your eyes out." Susano, the elder of the two, straightened. His expression lost its amusement completely. "That's quite enough warmth from me. Time for the real welcome." He charged. His brother moved simultaneously from behind, sword raised, intent on splitting Goku in two. Goku didn't turn. He filled his hand with energy and caught the blade without looking, then spun and drove his foot into Susano's brother's stomach hard enough to launch him backward through the air, blood spilling from his lips before he hit the ground. Goku stood over them both. "Told you." Susano rose to his feet slowly, indignation replacing pain. "You got lucky." His power began to emerge, not gradually, but at once, filling the space around them like a pressure system collapsing. "Get back. This isn't the right battlefield for my brother. His power comes from the moon. He shouldn't be fighting in the same space as Amaterasu." He looked at Goku with a kind of clinical certainty. "You, however, are mine." The speed of the assault that followed was simply beyond what Goku could process. It was over in less than a second. A blur, then impact after impact, each one landing before the last could even register. Goku hit the ground hard, blood at the corner of his mouth, his body struggling to understand what had just been done to it. "That strike," Susano said quietly, "was for my brother. You hit him while he was in an environment where he couldn't use his full power. That's cowardly." He rolled his neck slowly. "I am the god of war. In direct combat, I do not lose. Not to anyone at your level. The three exceptions in this universe are my parents and my sister. You are not among them." Goku pushed himself to his feet.
"Mortals," Susano said. "I genuinely cannot stand the sight of their blood. It reminds me they're fragile. It's irritating." He raised his hand. "Next strike ends this." "Your mistake," Goku said, straightening fully, "is calling me a mortal. I stopped being one a long time ago." Something shifted in his expression, not rage, but something deeper. The particular calm that arrives when a person has run out of patience entirely. "Get ready, because you're about to feel what it means to face someone who carries the fury of the Yagami family." His ki combined, the royal energy of the Yagami bloodline fusing with the Kaioken, multiplied tenfold, and the resulting surge rolled outward across the entire dimension like a shockwave. Every corner of the universe felt it, every planet trembled, every living thing that could sense power instinctively looked toward the source. Every corner, that is, except the castle of Izanami and Sananami, built specifically so that no ki could enter or leave its walls. High above, Amaterasu felt it cut through the air, and her eyes went wide. That power. Below, Susano understood what was coming toward him, and for the first time in a very long while, he did not move to meet it with confidence. He moved to meet it because he had no other choice. Goku had already disappeared. He reappeared directly in front of Susano's face, moving at a velocity that left only a faint afterimage where he'd been standing, visible to the eye only because the king's ki was so vast it displaced the air itself. The punch landed. Susano's head snapped back. Blood left his nose and mouth simultaneously. He stumbled. The god of war, unbeaten in direct combat across all of recorded history, stumbled backward with blood on his face. He touched his lip, stared at what was on his fingers. 3, he said, quietly, almost to himself. Only 3 people have ever done this before. His eyes came back up to Goku, and what lived in them now was no longer contempt. It was something he hadn't experienced in so long he almost didn't recognize it. You disappeared in my presence. I didn't see it. You moved toward me directly and I couldn't track it. His voice dropped further. You drew blood from someone with my endurance. Up above, Amaterasu turned back to you with an expression that had shed everything playful and become something else entirely. Little Yuji, she said, and her voice had gone quiet. You really are becoming a problem. Her eyes moved to his with a focused, hungry intensity. Those eyes, I want them more than ever now, and I will have them. She spread her hands, the 7 suns blazing above her. Forgive me, but I'm done playing gently with you. And the battle entered an entirely different phase. The exchange between Amaterasu and Yu was relentless. Blow after blow, the two of them moved at speeds that bent the air around them, neither willing to yield an inch. Yu was disciplined, keeping the fight grounded, refusing to be drawn upward where the 7 suns would pour their limitless energy into her and make her truly unstoppable. He had learned that lesson already, and he would not forget it. Amaterasu, however, was shifting. Yu noticed it with his purple eyes. Her focus was changing. The urgency to kill him was draining away, replaced by something else, something directed toward Goku. She thought to herself with cold clarity, that Titan is genuinely overwhelming Susano and Tsukuyumi. All those suns around this dimension mean nothing to him. He doesn't need them. He just keeps getting stronger on his own. I underestimated what he was. Her aura changed. The killing intent she had been pouring toward Yu quietly dissolved, and she began to move, not at him, but past him, accelerating to a speed that was almost incomprehensible. Yu lunged after her immediately. I'm your opponent, don't you walk away from me. She glanced over her shoulder without slowing. Go back to your universe and drink some milk, Yuji. You're not worth being killed by me. The only thing valuable about you are those eyes, and you should thank your father for giving them to you. Without them, you'd be nothing. She turned away completely. Now disappear. Just leave me your power. She began reciting something, a divine incantation in a language that existed nowhere in the other universe, syllables that moved like something ancient and liturgical. Yu watched through his eyes as the energy of all 7 suns converged toward a single point, her, and poured itself into her body in one concentrated surge. He felt his chest tighten. The increase was restrained, subtle, far less than he expected. He allowed himself one breath of relief. It lasted 2 seconds. Amaterasu vanished completely from his sight, and even from the range of his purple eyes. When she reappeared, she was already screaming past him. She had activated the Kaioken multiplied 500 times. The solar energy she had absorbed wasn't for power, it was armor, a shield against the brutality of the technique itself, protecting her body from being torn apart by the force she was now running on. Yu pushed everything he had into motion, raising his own Kaioken to 500. The speed he reached was extraordinary, but it wasn't enough. She was already gone.
Ahead of him, Goku had taken a strike from behind, hard, sharp, and deliberate. He recovered quickly, turning with controlled fury. What kind of god attacks from behind? What honor is that? Yu arrived and landed beside him, breathing hard. I'm sorry, I couldn't stop her. He looked at Goku steadily. Change opponents. You take Amaterasu. Keep her on the ground. Don't let her go up. I'll handle Susano. Goku nodded once. Understood. Yu turned towards Susano, who regarded him with an expression that sat somewhere between amusement and mild offense. You don't think I'm more frightening than her? Not even close, Yu said. The punch landed before Susano could fully process the insult. He staggered and then counterattacked with terrifying speed. But unlike the exchange with Amaterasu, Yu wasn't running the Kaioken at 500 now. He was fighting clean, and his eyes were reading every movement Susano made before his muscles committed to it. Every feint, every shift in weight, every change in trajectory arrived to Yu's mind a half-second before it arrived in reality. It was not enough to make the fight easy, but it was enough to make sure nothing caught him by surprise. Across the battlefield, Amaterasu drove her knee into Goku's chest with enough force to crater the ground beneath them. She appeared behind him instantly, hands raised. Ahead of him, Goku had taken a strike from behind, hard, sharp, and deliberate.
He recovered quickly, turning with controlled fury. What kind of god attacks from behind? What honor is that? You arrived and landed beside him, breathing hard. I'm sorry, I couldn't stop her. He looked at Goku steadily. Change opponents. You take Amaterasu. Keep her on the ground. Don't let her go up. I'll handle Susano. Goku nodded once. Understood. You turned towards Susano, who regarded him with an expression that sat somewhere between amusement and mild offense. You don't think I'm more frightening than her? Not even close, you said. The punch landed before Susano could fully process the insult. He staggered and then counterattacked with terrifying speed. But unlike the exchange with Amaterasu, Yu wasn't running the Kaioken at 500 now. He was fighting clean, and his eyes were reading every movement Susano made before his muscles committed to it. Every feint, every shift in weight, every change in trajectory arrived to Yu's mind a half-second before it arrived in reality. It was not enough to make the fight easy, but it was enough to make sure nothing caught him by surprise. Across the battlefield, Amaterasu drove her knee into Goku's chest with enough force to crater the ground beneath them. She appeared behind him instantly, hands raised to destroy his skull, and Goku activated his own technique, the same one, redirecting her strike and sending her momentum cascading uselessly past him. She landed 10 meters away and stared. How? I reinforced my ki with solar energy specifically so that technique wouldn't work against me. You shouldn't be able to use it. Goku looked at her with a calm that was somehow more aggravating than anything he could have said. You're beautiful, and you're dangerous, but you're curious too, aren't you? You want to know how gods make other gods angry enough to use their sacred techniques. He tilted his head slightly. It's a rare thing, a goddess as strong as this, who actually wants to understand the fight she's in. Amaterasu blinked. Then, despite herself, she almost laughed. You are genuinely strange. Then the air changed. All three of Izanami and Izanami's children felt it at exactly the same moment. The fight simply stopped, not because anyone chose to stop it, but because the presence that had just arrived made continuing feel beside the point. It was calm, completely, impossibly calm, and it was pressing down on everything around it like a sky deciding to be heavier. Amaterasu's voice dropped to barely above a whisper. It can't be. You're actually alive. Chiro stood at the edge of the battlefield with his eyes closed, hands at his sides, wearing the expression of someone who arrived slightly later than he intended and was mildly irritated about it. I'm not here to destroy everything, he said pleasantly. I've only come to kill your parents. Do try not to take it personally. Susano's voice cracked. You arrogant old man, you should have stayed asleep. You're far too ancient for battles that are beyond your... Susano. Amaterasu's voice cut across her brother like a blade. She was trembling. She turned to look at him with something she rarely showed anyone, genuine fear. Be quiet. Be very, very quiet. Tsukuyomi took one look at Chiro's face, then took 2 steps backwards without meaning to. Chiro opened one eye. The god of the moon is going to take me to his dimension. He sounded genuinely entertained. That does sound like fun. I'd be curious to see how the mighty god of the moon takes advantage of this old man. He closed his eye again. Go ahead then. Tsukuyomi did not move. Yu stood very still, looking at his father, looking at the eyes, the same color as his own, the same depth, but carrying something his simply did not. A weight, a completeness. He understood the gap between them in a single glance, the way you understand the distance between a candle and the sun, not by measuring it, but by simply looking at both. Father, Yu said quietly, why do you still have that power? You gave your ki to Goku. You shouldn't be able to move, let alone be here. Chiro smiled without opening his eyes. My Yuma let me through. She was very gracious about it. A pause. The kingdom of everything has changed since I last visited. I almost didn't recognize the hallways. He finally looked at his son directly. Why are you both staring at me like that? The demon eyes of our clan don't cower in front of anyone, and certainly not in front of their father. Yu opened his mouth, closed it, looked at Chiro with an expression that was somewhere between overwhelmed and furious.
You said you gave everything to Goku. You told me you couldn't even... I said I gave him my divine ki. Chiro said mildly. I didn't say which one. The weight of that landed slowly. Yu has 2 ki within him, at least that.
Goku looked between father and son and said nothing. Amaterasu looked at Chiro's eyes, really looked at them, and felt the last of her confidence quietly leave the room. They were the same eyes as Yuji's, the same purple, the same sharpness. But where Yu's eyes read the battlefield, Chiro's simply ended it. There was nothing calculating in them, nothing that was working anything out. He had already seen everything there was to see. He had seen it before he arrived. "My son," Chiro said, turning fully toward Yu with something warm moving behind those impossible eyes. "You have no idea yet what those eyes of yours are actually capable of, but you will." He glanced briefly at the 3 children of his enemies, then back. "I'll explain everything after this is finished." He took 1 step forward, and the battlefield, which had survived gods and demons in the combined fury of divine bloodlines, seemed to quietly brace itself for what was coming next. Chiro stepped through the dimensional tear that Tsukuyomi had opened with absolute calm, as though being dragged into an alien dimension by a god of the moon was something that happened to him on a slow afternoon. The gravity was gone, or nearly so, and 7 moons hung in the dark sky above them, each one pulsing with cold silver light. Chiro looked around with mild appreciation. 7 moons? That's rather creative. The children of Zanami certainly know how to make the most of their gifts. He folded his arms and waited, watching with quiet amusement as Tsukuyomi began drawing the energy of all 7 moons into himself, vast swelling quantities of power pouring into his body like water filling a reservoir. "Take your time," Chiro said pleasantly. "I'm a patient demon. I can see the energy entering you, process it properly. If you're really going to kill me, I'd prefer you don't embarrass yourself by rushing." A pause. "Though I should be honest with you, even if you absorb every moon in this dimension, I can't promise it will be enough. You might end up looking even more foolish than you did before." Tsukuyomi's jaw tightened. The old man was standing there with his arms crossed, completely relaxed, while absorbing a quantity of divine energy that should have made any being in the universe tremble. And he was making jokes. His power surged past what he believed was Chiro's level, then past it again. The moons dimmed slightly as they gave him everything they had. He threw everything at once, one single strike meant to end it in an instant. What followed barely registered on Chiro's face. He absorbed the blow, looked at the fist that had delivered it, and shook his head slowly. "That's it? I gave you all that time, and that's what you chose to do with it?" He sounded genuinely disappointed. "I thought at least you'd make me use my eyes." A slight smile. "You called me old, you called me ancient. I want you to know, that part actually amused me. But touching my family?" His voice didn't rise. It didn't need to. "That I don't forgive." The dimensional wall cracked open and Chiro stepped back through it into the dimension of suns, Tsukuyomi's body reduced to what it was by a single, almost casual application of the haka, the same technique the god had believed was his family's alone to wield. A blue light drifted from the wreckage and flowed directly into Amaterasu, who felt it arrive like a second heartbeat, sudden and overwhelming. She turned on Chiro with fury pouring off her. "You killed my brother like he was nothing." Chiro said simply, "I gave him more time than he deserved. He had every advantage that dimension could offer him. He chose to spend it insulting me rather than thinking. That was his decision, not mine." He looked at her with something that wasn't cruelty. "You're different, Amaterasu. You always were. My purple eyes don't lie to me. There's no darkness in you that belongs to you. What's there was put there by your parents. You've spent millions of years killing because you were told to, and every single time it cost you something you never got back." Amaterasu's hands shook. The power of the moon god now lived inside her, her own already staggering strength amplified further, and she still couldn't move. Something in her chest refused to let her arms rise. "The day they took Kana, your brother had his hands around her throat. I remember his face, and I remember yours, standing just far enough away that you could tell yourself you weren't part of it.
He tilted his head. "Were you?" She said nothing. Nearby, Yu watched in complete silence. He had fought this woman. He had pushed himself to 500 times his base power and barely kept pace with her. And his father was standing in front of her with his arms at his sides, dismantling her with words. Goku leaned close and murmured, "The power of your father is genuinely on another level." Yu didn't answer. He was thinking about something Chiro had just said. Too key. The implication of it, everything he thought he understood about himself rearranging quietly in the back of his mind. Amaterasu closed her eyes. When she opened them, her voice was steadier, but carried a grief she'd stopped pretending wasn't there. "He didn't die for nothing. His soul is inside me now. The power of the moon is mine." She raised her hands slowly. "I don't want to kill you. I have never wanted to kill anyone, but you took my brother, and I won't pretend that matters."
"It does matter," Chairo said. "I know it does. I'm not asking you to pretend otherwise." He met her gaze without flinching. "But you are your mother's daughter in power only. In everything else, you made yourself. Don't throw that away fighting a battle your parents designed for you." She attacked, not with hatred, with grief, which is heavier and harder to deflect. Chairo moved, not the languid waiting he had done with Tsukuyomi, but something different. Yu tracked it with his eyes and still struggled to fully process it. His father was blocking, redirecting, absorbing, never striking back, giving her room to exhaust the storm inside her without destroying her in the process. Then the dimension shattered. Zanami and Sanami had been watching through their divine mirror, and what they saw had made the decision for them. Tsukuyomi was gone. Amaterasu was faltering. Chairo was here, in the flesh, very much alive, with their son and the Saiyan beside him. Everyone in the dimension of suns was relocated in a single violent instant, all of them appearing inside the castle of the gods. And there, across the vast hall, was the cage. Kana looked through the sealed barrier of her cage and found Chairo's face, and a single tear moved down her cheek before she could stop it. She thought of how long it had been, of the children she had raised through descriptions and memory rather than presence, of Yuji's eyes, which she had always known would look exactly like this, exactly like his father's, burning with the same purple light. Chairo's expression, which had been composed through everything, shifted just slightly when he saw her. "I'll have you out of there shortly," he said, his voice carrying the particular gentleness of someone who has rehearsed a sentence millions of times in an empty room. "Give me a few minutes to deal with the shadows of the past." Zanami appeared beside Sanami, both of them radiating the combined power of divine rulers who had held an entire universe under their control for longer than most civilizations had existed. Zanami looked at Chairo the way someone looks at a wound they expected to have healed by now. "So it's true," she said, something complicated moving behind her eyes. "After all this time, you remember me, don't you, Chairo?" "Of course," Chairo said pleasantly. "Then let me ask you something." Her voice dropped into something that tried to be intimate and landed closer to possessive. "Why her? Why choose someone so unremarkable when you could have had me?" Chairo's answer was 4 words, delivered without hesitation or malice. "You were never her." Zanami moved, vanishing and reappearing with a velocity that made Yu's eyes work to keep up, blades of compressed divine energy arriving from multiple angles simultaneously. Chairo's hands came up and he moved through it, not with the stillness of someone waiting, but the fluid precision of someone who invented the language the attack was written in. "Stop flirting with my wife," Zanami snarled between exchanges. "I'm not flirting," Chairo said, redirecting a strike that would have leveled a continent. "I'm correcting her. There's a difference." He caught Zanami's wrist, reversed his momentum, and sent him into the far wall of the castle with controlled force. "You taught your children every technique they know. You learned most of yours from me. I want you to understand what that means for this conversation." Zanami erupted. The two of them attacked together, perfectly coordinated, the product of millennia fighting side by side, and the castle shook around them as Chairo met them both at once. You watched. Goku watched. We should help him, Goku said. He told us not to, Yu replied. His eyes hadn't blinked. He also said those two are his to deal with. Yes. So we just stand here? Yu looked at his father moving through the combined assault of two mythological gods like water moving around stone, calm and absolute and completely terrifyingly at home in the violence. Amaterasu, Yu said. He turned toward her. She was watching Chairo fight her parents with an expression he recognized, the particular exhaustion of someone who has been loyal to the wrong people for too long and has finally run out of reasons to keep pretending otherwise. She told you to stop, Amaterasu said slowly, almost to herself. She was looking at Kana. When you were about to finish me, she told you to stop. Yes, Goku said. Amaterasu was quiet for several seconds. She doesn't even know me. She knows what you are, Goku said, the same way your father does, the same way you do if you're being honest. Something in Amaterasu's face moved, not breaking exactly, but settling, like a wall that has been under pressure for so long that when the pressure finally releases, it doesn't fall, it simply stops pretending to be a wall. She lowered her hands. Kana, from behind the sealed barrier of her cage, watched the three young people standing in the middle of her captor's castle, her son, the man her daughter loved, and the child of her enemies who had just chosen for the first time in her existence not to obey, and allowed herself the thought she had been holding carefully for a very long time. They're going to be all right.